What's going on, my friends? This is Dustin Stelzer with Electrician U. Today is Q&A day. Before we get into Q&A day, today's trivia question. What is the difference between line voltage and phase voltage? Make sure you listen all the way to the end for the answer. All right, let's dig into the YouTube comments today. So we're gonna start out with the less technical questions. These are generally probably aspiring electricians, apprentices, maybe even homeowners. First we've got Brian Portillo. Hey Dustin, this is the Why We Bond video. Hey Dustin, I'm about to graduate from trade school in 2 weeks for electrical. Would there be any tips you would give me as a first year helper? Oh my gosh, I think I might have answered this in every single live and every single Q&A. Basically every time I answer this question, I say something to the effect of show up on time, stop trying to act like you know stuff that you don't. It's completely see-through. These electricians, teachers, we all know when somebody knows some stuff and doesn't know some stuff. You ain't gotta say a damn thing. You standing there looking stupid, looking around, not knowing what to do, we see that. Don't say anything, you know, we just let you do what you do, but we know when you don't know a thing. And we know that look in your eyes when you're really confused, but you're saying, yeah, I get it, I understand, you don't get it. So say you don't get it. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to not know things. Actually, this is the greatest opportunity in your life to just say, I don't know. Get used to saying that word. I don't know. Be proud of saying it. That means you're gonna know something after the words I don't know come out of your mouth. So, you could tell I'm passionate about this because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of dudes, a lot of guy dudes. There's the ego involved and they just want to know everything. They want to impress everybody. They want to be seen as the smartest, the hardest working, the best helper. Cut all that shit out. The more you pretend that you know, the less far you're actually going to get in this trade. The more you say, dude, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Tell me, teach me, how do I do this? And if you don't understand, be like, fuck man, I'm still not understanding. I don't know why, please, treat me like I'm an idiot. Really, really explain this again. It's okay. Be humble. Be humble. Thank you, Kendrick, for that song. The more you don't know, the more you can know, the more you can learn. So, thank you so much for the question, Brian. We got Andrizzy Foshizzy on the circuit breakers and how they work video. Awesome. One of my circuit breakers wobbles side to side quite a bit, and if I try to wiggle it, is there any way to tighten it? No! It kind of depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about this way, side to side, this way, back and forth this way, yeah, it might, if it's a screw-in type, a square DQO or something like that, and you've got a bolt-in breaker, well, yeah, that bolt-on connection might be loose, but you probably aren't talking about a commercial breaker, you're talking about residential. So if you're talking about wobbling this way, look, all breakers wobble, that's pretty standard. The ones on the insides are fortunate enough to be sandwiched, so they don't really wobble as much, especially when you have a dead front over the breakers. But there's really no harm in that. A little bit of wobbling is absolutely okay. They snap in the back. There's actual fingers that snap onto a bus bar. So a little bit of wobbling is not going to do anything as long as, the connection is solid for the breaker to the bus. And with most modern panels, you're not going to find a problem with that kind of a connection, while it will wobble a little bit because it's a weird lateral thing holding onto a linear or a longitudinal plane. You know what I mean? Sorry if that was less confusing, but no, that's not something I would worry about. It happens all the time. Desert solipsism? Solipsism. What does solipsism mean?
Solipsism. The view or theory that the self is all that can be known to exist.
Oh, you're my homie. Dude, I love that. Solipsism is my favorite word. That's getting into some philosophy. That's some Plato, Descartes era thinking. I think, therefore I am, and the only thing that I know truly is that I'm a thinking thing. I feel you, bro. I love that solipsism. Man, that's a whole great topic. I'm like super juiced lately on me and the self experience that I have here. And the only experience that I do have is that of self. And when I'm dreaming, I don't know if that's truly reality versus if this is reality, or if you like induce a substance, you know, like reality can shift. So you don't even really know what's real and what's not. We could go into that. We'll stick that in the Journey to Master column instead of the Electrician U column. Bro, but I love your name. Thank you for that. Desert Solipsism. That sounds like it should be the next name for the next Tool album that comes out. Desert Solipsism. Because Tool's like, their albums sound like they're like desert soundscapes for somebody doing peyote. Anyways, moving on. I'm seriously gonna reach out to Danny Carey and be like, yo, buddy, fellow drummer to drummer, like your last album was hot, but let's call the new one Desert Solipsism. Okay, how much, if any, of a knowledge edge does several years of low voltage work give if I want to start an electrical apprenticeship? Goose egg, homeboy. While that's not 100% true. Low voltage people, low voltagers, you deal with a lot of the same tools, right? So like drilling holes, pulling wire, knowing how to fish stuff across an attic, stuff like that. That's real world experience that as a master electrician, I would look at you and be like, oh, you get it. Our wires look a little bit different. It's a little bit more dangerous what we're dealing with, but you at least have experience running wires, drilling through stuff, pulling wires, knowing how to not damage wires. So to me, that's more valuable because you actually have physical experience doing this kind of work. It's more valuable to me that you have that experience than some college kid that walks in and says, I have a degree in like, I don't know, like hotel management. You know, like, okay, it doesn't help you at all. So like you're going to go to the bottom of the pile still because you don't benefit me in any way once you put tools on. So yes, I would say that it does. I don't know that it gives you necessarily a knowledge edge, but I would say that it gives you an experience edge because physically doing this work is the most important thing to most electricians that are hiring. And anybody training. It's like when you show up and somebody knows how to use drills and knows how to use saws and gets the idea, the theory of pulling wires and stuff, it's like, bro, oh my God, that takes the first like 6 months of me having to just like want to hit myself in the face with a hammer every day out of the situation. I can let you go and I don't have to like watch every single thing you're doing with your fingers and like work, you know? So good question. That was on the Zinsco Electric video. Gerald Kearns, are Eaton panels and breakers now safe? Eaton panels and breakers have always been safe, I think, since they were called Eaton. Eaton's been around for a really long time, so Eaton has bought up some of these old guys. Actually, well, I don't have my Zinsco thing in here, but Zinsco was eventually bought out by them. Challenger, so like that whole kind of Challenger Zinsco era got absolved into Eaton. But Eaton itself, I don't know that they're like BR or CH lines of breakers are really a problem. But like, you know, those older school versions of Challenger things that they were putting into the Eaton panels and trying to make like a uniform kind of breaker that would fit multiple different brands. I think that's what you're talking about. There's a lot of recalls and stuff. But nowadays with the BR and the CH brands, like I don't see any kind of problem with them. I'm still more worried about this shit that was like from the 50s and 60s. Outlawed stuff, Zinsco, Pushmatic, Wadsworth, Federal Pacific, the older, you know, Challenger Type A. But I really don't think there's anything wrong with Eaton other than that. Other than like, you know, nuisance tripping all the time. I have a job that I'm doing right now that every 4 months, this customer calls me and their house is only like 5 years old, maybe, but it's all Eaton and all of the dual function breakers just keep going bad. And the little diagnostic light on it, you know how like a lot of dual function breakers, when they when they have a fault condition, the breaker will actually blink a little red light at you a certain amount of times. Well, it's always giving codes that the breaker needs to be replaced, essentially. The breaker has gone bad. I don't see anywhere near as many problems between what I see with Eaton and Siemens. Between those two brands, I see more nuisance tripping and breakers go bad, just technology in general with problems, than I do with like GE or Square D any of the day of the week. So still not a huge fan of Eaton, but I don't just see like unsafe panels. I just see like annoying lowest bid, cheapest on the market kind of problems, but not like an unsafe situation with them. That was a good question. All right, Spencer Fry, we've got a question from the Q&A from 4/23, April 23rd. Hey Dustin, I want to add a sub panel with a plug-on neutral to add to my garage to expand it to a workspace. What brands do you recommend? Square D, bruh. All day, every day. Just go with Schneider. They make killer stuff. I like the QO line specifically. The home line stuff is all right. Like there's really no issues with it either. I just have been a huge user of QO, the QO line of Square D breakers, forever. They are just really high quality, never have any problems. Arc fault breakers don't have any issues. They don't just go bad. GFCI, nothing goes bad. It's really good. There are every once in a while where you're going to run into something that's just like, it was a faulty breaker, because they can't test every single breaker that comes out of the assembly line. These people are putting out like millions of breakers a year. But they do test a high volume of them. And what comes through are really quality products. So I would say if you're looking for the best, or just looking for what I would put in my house and what I put in all of my other projects, Square D, QO, all across the board. We've got Zach Silky. Would a welder trip an arc fault breaker because welders intentionally cause an arc? I would imagine so. I've never hooked a welder up to an arc fault breaker, but a breaker is supposed to detect characteristics of an arc, and it's supposed to be able to detect whether or not it's between two things in series or whether or not it's between two things in parallel. But either way, arcs happen a certain way, and they have certain heat characteristics. They a certain amount of resistance in the circuit, current flow, like all of that kind of plays an effect. But really, I don't know what's inside of these arc fault breakers for an algorithm, what's actually running as, some kind of like computational something on a little computer board to be able to know what exactly it is considering an arc and what it is not considering an arc. But I would sure as hell hope so. Maybe that's a better answer. I would hope so, because it's literally an arc. Why shouldn't it? Good question. All right, Phoenix of Liberty. He writes, Dustin, don't freeze to death, bro. This was the Milwaukee top-off video. This was back when like Texas froze for a fucking week and I was burning cardboard and had no food, electricity, or phone or internet or anything. Yeah, don't freeze to death, bro. By the way, what are your thoughts on graphene as a superconductor? I think graphene is a killer product for a superconductor. Any of you that don't know what graphene is, go check it out. Any of you that don't know what carbon nanotubes are, it's a very similar kind of thing. It's just that there's a certain lattice that these products can be built in to make it really, really efficient for use in superconductor environments. I'm not even going to get into like the whole superconductor, semiconductor, what the difference is. Maybe I'll do a video on that, because that's something that's some like upper level kind of shit. So you really need to even know what a superconductor is. But graphene, yeah, I think graphene is going to have a lot of really important graphene and just carbon nanotube technology in general. I think is going to have a lot of strides in the construction industry, in applied materials, in tools, in building materials, vehicles. Like there's just such huge applications for products like this going into the future. But the superconductor thing, man, until I actually start seeing infrastructure being built to use superconductors on a large enough basis. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about them. I got really big into superconductors when TED became like a thing, and there was some dude that did a TED talk where he like levitated, magnets on a table, and there was like this like hockey puck that had like, he had dipped in what's the shit? Fucking liquid nitrogen. So it was like smoking as it was going around this thing, and he would change the angle of it, and it like, due to like quantum levitation, it was able to lock itself in position, or quantum locking, or whatever the hell they call that. But like, I got really big into trying to understand what all of that was. But like beyond that, like, I mean, I know superconducting magnets, being able to use superconductors in applications like the Hadron Collider in Geneva, but like that's the only kind of things that I really see us using superconductors for. It would be cool if we had mass transit systems, like trains that went 700 miles an hour because of this. But I just, again, like, I don't put too much stock into this stuff yet because I haven't seen any wide scale, real like public or industrial adoption for superconductors. So honestly, that's as far as my thoughts go. I don't care much beyond that. But I think the idea of graphene is a very, very cool product. William P. as a cybersecurity specialist. Doom, doom, doom. I don't know how I feel about smart breakers. I don't know how I feel about them either, bro. It's like robots taking over our shit. Actually, me and my video editor were just talking about this morning. It's like, at what point are AI is very, very advanced. For those of you that question whether or not AI is something that we should be worrying about as a human species, not that I think we're like living in Terminator times, but you should listen to the person who is the smartest at the cutting edge of AI technology right now. His name is Elon Musk. And when you listen to him talk about where AI is and how out of control it is and how far past the point of no return that we are with AI technology, he's scared of it. He does not talk about AI in a good way. He talks about it as like, if we don't put the right things, basically like hurdles or stops or checks in place for AI, we're going to be in really big trouble as it gets more and more intelligent, and it's going to outpace us very quickly. And for all intents and purposes, it probably has far exceeded our intelligence by this point. So that kind of shit scares me. So Drake and I were talking about, like, at what point are books and like college courses, like actual textbooks and stuff, gonna be like written by AI to the point where we have no clue that it's an AI versus a human. And then at what point is it going to be where all textbooks, all books, everything written, blog articles, AIs already do this. You can sit and read articles written by an artificial intelligence program, a computer, and not even know that it's not a human. It reads flawlessly. So at what point are all of our books and the information that we're taking in and reading, at what point are we not going to know that it's all AIs coming up with all this shit? I'm convinced that Google is just a big AI and Facebook is another AI. We're not really told, yeah, this thing that you call Google, it's not just this program on a website that neatly organizes your search results. It like literally knows everything about humanity, and it's constantly being fed new data, and they're building warehouses for more servers to just cram information into this thing that knows everything. Anyway, sorry, let me get back to your question. As a cybersecurity specialist, I don't know how I feel about smart breakers. Me too, bro! Are they really necessary, or does it just open an attack vector that can be easily eliminated by having a minimum wage staffer on site ready to reset the breaker when monitoring notices the equipment is down? Bro, I mean, like having somebody sit and stare at a breaker when, like, at Lowe's they might have like 20 electrical panels in one room, and they might have like 3 different electrical rooms all across the entire store. And then they've got the exterior stuff too. They've got all the service equipment. For somebody to pay somebody to just walk around every day and like chew on something, like eat snacks and wait for breakers to blow, like, bro, that's, I think, ultra paranoid for what the effect of the control that remote person would have control of. really the only thing that they have control of is shutting off or turning on or turning off a breaker. There's nothing else networked with these into other systems throughout the network. It's literally like Ethernet cable. There's an internet, signal that happens remotely. I'm probably talking to somebody that you already know like way more than all of this, probably far more than I do. But there's an Ethernet signal that comes in to the low voltage side of this, and it tells the high voltage side, turn this breaker off, shut it off. That's it. So beyond that, I don't know in what capacity they might have access to like that entire circuit and the actual devices on that circuit. So in theory, if you can actually pass a circuit down, or you can pass a signal down the node, down basically the null point of a circuit. So like if you've got an AC signal, right, it's going positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. Well, at the maximum and at the minimum peaks of that voltage, in the middle is what we call the node. And when there's no voltage, that tiny fraction of a second, 60 times every second, there's absolutely no voltage. So the possibility of timing a signal to get a current, like some kind of signal current to cross that wire at that specific point in time, you could send a signal to something clearly if you could time that correctly. I know that there's technology that does that, but I don't know if that means that like through the Ethernet, if they had the ability like to control the monitoring side, they could probably screw with the monitoring service, but I don't really know that them having access to this electrical panel and have any more damage that they can do than just literally turning on and turning off the circuits. I would think if they were hacking into Home Depot's stuff or Walmart or whatever, that they're gonna want like credit card processing information, security information. They're gonna be trying to gather data on consumers or get in financially somewhere, not just flip breakers on and off. But I don't know, like if the ability to kill lighting as a security risk, if you're trying to break into a store, I don't think you'd be able to take any of the security stuff down and like stop cameras or anything like that, because again, that's a completely different system. You're usually in these systems, you're only working on lighting, and that's what the remote monitoring is for. A lot of it is parking lot lighting, a lot of it's like interior lighting and things like that. Some of it is actual like equipment that is refrigerated and has food in it. But I don't think there's any way that they could get into like the security system. I don't know, dude. You're the cybersecurity bro. You tell me. But I just don't. Yeah, I don't see it. I just don't see it. We got Connor Bollinger Smith. What are your thoughts on the crazy prices of materials lately? Are you guys having a hard time getting your hands on basic materials in Texas? Yeah, actually, I just had today was National Signing Day. Well, not today that you're watching this. Today is the 4th. Today was National Signing Day. So for tradespeople, I sat in a big conference call thing with a whole bunch of trade schools and students and teachers, and Klein and Home Depot and Tony Garoppolo, quarterback, was on the call. But like one of the things we talked about with the Home Depot rep is like, what is the biggest demand for you guys right now, considering the material crisis that's happening? And they said obviously wood. Like just being able to keep up with the wood demand is really, really difficult. Second is plumbing, actually, because most of the fittings are PVC or metal, so like just the plumbing demand alone for the PVC has got to be outrageous, because PVC is pretty much shut down everywhere. There's tons of factories, and from how I understand it, this may be incorrect, but this is what I was told by a supply house that buys the stuff, that there's only a few places in the US that manufacture a lot of this material, and the majority of them are down. So it's down to very few people making all of this stuff and trying to push it out. So when the supply houses call and they're like, hey, how much Romex can I buy? Romex also is like a polyvinyl chloride jacketing to some degree. So Romex right now is really difficult to come by. And so a lot of these suppliers, these like actual manufacturers, they're like, I'm not even gonna give you a quote, because it's gonna be months before I can even get you a price quote. And by the time I can get you a quote, because there's now material, the price is gonna have changed so much. So, back like a few years ago, the price of Romex was like $55 a roll for a 250 foot roll. And then it started to kind of go up and it was about 75 a roll. Right now it's like 157 a roll, which is nuts. You can buy MC, 12.2 MC for like 102, 104, somewhere around that price. So like just wiring an entire house, which I'm doing right now. I'm wiring a home in all MC and I'm putting 1900 bracket boxes everywhere. I'm doing it all commercial because the customer actually bought metal studs and is wiring this new addition. It's like a mother-in-law house thing with a garage. But he built the entire thing out of metal studs. So essentially I'm building a commercial building in somebody's backyard. Because it was so much cheaper to use metal than these inflated prices of wood. So anyways, Home Depot said the highest demand was wood, lumber, electrical, because we also, PVC, a lot of breakers and stuff. These like breakers are just in really high demand. And so a lot of the factories that shut down manufacture our breakers, and a lot of them are not in the US. Most of them are in other countries like Mexico and China and stuff like that. So places like that where they shut down, they have not been putting breakers out. So anyways, plumbing, electrical, and lumber. Sorry, it took me forever to get that out. One gang nail-ons, he said, among many other things, are hard to come by in Washington. Yeah, that's not as much a problem here. It was at first. So like when the pandemic hit, there were big companies that had 1,000 employees that were going to every Home Depot and just buying literally everything off the shelves. They're being fucking assholes. I get it. You got a company to run. You got big budgets and all that kind of, you're more important than all the rest of us little guys. No, you're not. So Home Depot, supply houses, they had to start limiting and telling people, sorry, you can't just come in and clean our fucking shelves out because you're going to shut everybody else in town down. They don't care, they're just a big operation, so it doesn't matter to them. But that's what was happening. So yeah, there was a while where I went into Home Depot and there was nothing, dude. It was weird stuff. Like there were no PVC 90s, or any LBs, or all of the single gang bell boxes for every color were gone, or all GE breakers would be cleared out, or all the EMT would be gone. It's still like that too. When I go into one Home Depot, it's like I'll walk in and turn right back out. It's like, all right, I'm going down the road, and there's another one 2 miles down the road. Let's have better luck there, maybe. And because of how Home Depots are, at least, each neighborhood that there's a Home Depot in each kind of area, town, they're kind of geared up differently based off the population of the area. I don't know if any of you knew that, but Home Depots are not universal. Home Depots they're closely universal, meaning that you can get a lot of the same products at a lot of the Home Depots, but Lowe's is this way too. But in each neighborhood, some Home Depots are set up just for remodels. They're not a big new construction house, whereas others are pretty much just new construction because they know the area and their customers and they know what's going on in the neighborhood, so they kind of gear themselves up to be a certain kind of way. Anyways, between fallout from the pandemic and wild material inflation, are we headed for an economic collapse? I think we're headed for an economic collapse either way. So I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an economist. Listen to me with a grain of salt for what it's worth, but I invest heavily into a lot of things. I diversify investments. I've got money tied into a lot of different things, and I try to watch and pay attention to each industry and what's happening. I have a house. I have a large amount of equity in my house, so I'm watching the housing market rise. There's potential bubbles that exist within the housing market right now. I'm not going to go into that. Start looking at YouTube some stuff. Look at the housing market bubble that is going on in our country right now with mortgages and who's buying up all of these mortgages. There's large companies that are doing it. So anyways, there's a potential for another housing bubble to pop. There's a potential for stock market to pop. We've got all of these, they call them FTDs. It's a failure to deliver, but it's essentially creating a massive amount of false promises on being able to collect stocks, basically fake stocks being created, and it's a huge problem. And it's at the institutional level, the people that are actually writing and selling these things. There's a huge mega bubble in the stock market that has been growing for years and years and years, A lot of people think that that is going to eventually pop and it's going to just fucking crash the stock market, because at a certain level, like, the legs are going to get kicked out from all of this shit. Crypto's another one. If a lot of people like look at the financial side of crypto and they're like, this is a huge bubble. This is a thing that's not a tangible thing, that you can't hold a Bitcoin in your hand and go buy a Coke with it. It doesn't have any physical intrinsic value. The blockchain technology, however, does. The blockchain is dope, and that's going to revolutionize everything about our country, how we transact business, how the internet works, how devices interface with each other, like so many things. The whole trustless idea behind a decentralized network. And all of the technologies, these coins, altcoins, like, it's not the coin having value that's going to stay around. That shit's going to pop, I think. Again, do your own research. Alessio Rastani is a person that I follow. Chico Crypto is another YouTuber that I follow, because he does a lot of research on the technology. He's not just trying to pump fucking coins and make money off the stuff. He still is, but he goes very in depth about what each one of the platforms are, what an Oracle is, what Chainlink is, and how many other things are working with Chainlink, so that you understand the importance of Chainlink in blockchain itself. But the bubble of the excitement and the money being thrown around everywhere for Bitcoin, that shit's gonna pop, and it's all gonna fall, because there's really no intrinsic value that the coins themselves have, other than a way for a company to have an initial coin offering, kind of like stocks would have an IPO, or initial public offering, for you to buy into them. But the real value, I think at a certain point, it's very possible that down the line people could realize, like, oh wow, this Ethereum thing, an Ethereum thing that doesn't actually exist, is really not worth $5,000. Or like a Bitcoin is really not worth $60,000. That's insane, So again, I don't know, but I hear a lot of people like Dan Pena loves to talk, like, just shit all over it. Warren Buffett likes to shit all over Bitcoin, because the dude's been like invested for 83 years or some shit, like he's like 900 years old. So he just knows when something is of true value that has lasting power, because it is a tangible physical thing that people can use and have as an asset that can't just disappear and become valueless overnight like Bitcoin can. It could be completely wiped off the map as something of no value. There's all these other altcoins, there's other things that are going on, and the intrinsic value that Bitcoin has is more of something that's like novelty. Really, at this point, it's really more about novelty and about the lack of supply of something, and everybody just wanting to jump on the bandwagon. But again, we're having a heyday in the stock markets. We're at an all-time high for everything in the stock markets. We're at an all-time high for everything in every market, which means there's nowhere to go but down. Stock markets always do this. They always just go up and up and up, and then they shithouse, and then they go up and up and up, and then they shithouse, and they go up and up and up. And bro, we've been up and up and up, and we're up, we're so fucking up, and we're due, I think, for a massive correction. Around the beginning of April, end of March, I was telling everybody around me, I'm like, there's going to be a huge correction. There's going to be like a massive correction. All of this money that everybody's been gaining needs to come back and balance itself, and it will. It's going to crash hard, and it did. Like, we lost so much money. Anyway, I'm sorry. Like, again, I say, like, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't listen to any fucking thing that I have to say about investing, other than just do it. But I think that there are so many things. The other one too, I promise very, very quickly, the national debt. So the amount of debt that we are in as a country, what is our debt number up to? $21.98 trillion we owe. We owe that money to people. It has never gone down. Back in March of 2016, it was 13 trillion. So in 5 years, it's gone from 13 to 22 fucking trillion dollars. We just keep printing more money. Oh, you know what? Don't worry, we're gonna have a recession. Let's just print more money. Let's just keep sending all these stimulus checks. It doesn't matter. Let's not worry about the problems. Let's not worry about the complete eroding of our economy. Let's just keep printing money. We could have fixed this shit, bro. We could have fixed this back in 2008, but we didn't want to. We didn't want to do the uncomfortable thing and start over from scratch. Wipe the slates clean and build anew and start building smart, a new way, a new... God, I need to stop, because this is going to get really entirely political, and I try to stay away from politics. I am not saying stimulus checks are bad. I'm not saying COVID's not a thing. I'm not going into all that. I'm just saying the national debt, the continued printing of fucking money over and over like it's just a heyday, the mass inflation, the hyperinflation that's happening, and the fact that we just keep printing money, all of it's gonna collapse, dude. It's a fucking bubble that I guarantee is going to collapse, and collapse hard. So, to answer your question in like 20 fucking minutes, bro, yeah, I think a collapse is coming. I think that there's a lot of things that it could potentially come from. There's more. I mean, there's more than that. Those are just like the top 5 things on my mind right now for all the investments I have out there that I'm just like, might be time to rein all these in and cash out and wait for the fall and then go buy again. But I don't think necessarily that the economic collapse is like the big economic collapse. I don't think is going to be from COVID. I think that by now where we are economically, if we haven't completely collapsed, then COVID is just a catalyst for change that's happening worldwide. Maybe more policy change and change for rights and freedoms and borders where things begin and end or don't anymore. I think there's a lot more collapse things that are happening because of COVID, with our data and our rights and everything in the world, how we operate. But the economic collapse, I think, is going to come from some other things. Anyways, just the economic collapse, that got me, just that term, that word got me like on a long rant. I'm sorry. Yes, I do think that we're headed for an economic collapse. So I am trying to stay as liquid with my cash these days as possible. I don't want to get into a situation, and it may not happen for like a year, 2 years, who knows? But I just don't want to get into a situation where I was greedy and wanted to wait till the last second and get the most out of my money and get every little dime. Because every time I've ever tried to do that with stocks and crypto, I missed it, lost a whole shitload of money. So I'm not doing it that time. I'm actually being pretty reserved with my money. But I'm also like, I'm not trying to go out and buy a bunch of like fancy shit. Right now, I'm just trying to keep on to the fact that materials are expensive, and knowing that I need to save and be kind of conservative. Well, I don't even know if conservative is the right word. Just to conserve, not to be conservative as in the political sense. But just trying to conserve everything and kind of keep everything I got right now. I just have a feeling that the next couple years are going to be rough in a lot more ways than we realize right now. We ain't out of the water yet. Okay, back to the Q&A. Pieces to the puzzle. I think I speak for many others when I say I have a great admiration and appreciation for what you do, so keep going. I look forward to watching these every Friday, and it's rare that I enjoy actual good, clean, educational fun on a Friday night. Pretty rare, right? Wow. All right. Nobody really watches these videos, so it's kind of like awesome. That's good to hear that there's actually people that do like these new Friday videos, so thank you. Again, keep up the work, and it means more than you know. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to like write something positive and to give me a pat on the back. Oh, let me pat myself. No, man, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Then we've got Johnny Vegas. You make the dumbest face expressions in your videos. I love it. Keep it up. Thanks, man. I do the same shit in like family pictures. My kid does it too. He's just got, like, he's got that me thing. Like, neither one of us can smile. I think we both feel the absurdity of posing and smiling for a fucking picture is so absurd. Like there was back in the day, nobody smiled. Everybody was just like serious and like like almost angry in pictures, and then people started smiling. It's like, oh shit, this looks way prettier when somebody smiles. They look more handsome and they don't look like a fucking axe murderer. But now, like, you have to smile in pictures. It's the thing to do. So Josh and I just fuck with people. I even photobomb people if I'm like at ACL at a festival and there's somebody like having their happy moment. I'll come up behind them and just be like, I just fucking creep behind their head, and they won't even know until they go through the picture and they've sent it to people and they're like, oh, what is that fucking guy in the back? So the making faces thing, bro, I've always been a silly fucking person. That's just in me. Just goofy as fuck. So Charles Seal Random, but what label maker do you recommend? So I use a Dymo Rhino. That's DYMO Rhino, RHINO, 5200 industrial labeler. I think it's rad. There's so many things it does, the types of labels, the options that it gives you to print, just the characters, like symbols. There's so much to it. Yeah, like all the size options. I don't know if you're like printing stuff on cables for, if you're doing like vertical flags, panels, blocks. There's all kinds of stuff. I haven't even figured out the full functionality of it, but it's really, really cool. Edgar Miranda and a bunch of others. Drake comments, ha ha ha, that intro is so weird. Problems with the Trades 2. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Y'all haven't watched Problems with the Trades 2? Drake made the beginning so fucking creepy. It's just so awkward. Oh, it's like, I went to a really awkward place, but he just, oh, fuck, man. He put it over the top, so I feel you. All right. John Takach, T-A-K-A-C-H, Takach Criminal? Anyways, John, what can you do? Question mark. Please do a virtual visit with our school. Oh, Problems with the Trades 2. What can you do? No, actually, a whole bunch of schools have been asking me to do that lately, which I was like, that's kind of a fucking cool thing. Just like for my brand alone, for the recognition, for like people being able to use my stuff and associate me with their schools and stuff. Because a lot of people do use my videos to train their classrooms. Instructors and stuff use the videos. So I think it would be cool to just like do Skype calls. And I've had a few people that have wanted me to do that. So I've told them all, yeah, let's do it. So seriously, if you want to do it, have your instructor get at me or just email me at dustinelectricianu.com and let me know when you want to do it. I'm sure school's like coming to an end pretty soon. But yeah, I'd be glad to sit and bullshit with you guys. We have some crazy, I assume, German name that I'm not even going to try to butcher. It's on screen. Does it make sense starting a YouTube channel as an apprentice? Absolutely. I think so. I think it makes sense making a YouTube channel as like anything that you're doing. It provides a life, dude. Like, it's good money if you can keep up with the demand that it costs of your life, the amount of time this fucking takes. Y'all don't know. You have no clue how no time I really have every day. I have no fucking time. Every bit of my time is consumed with doing this. That's what it takes to have a following, to gain a following, is sacrificing your entire life for it and not having any extra time. Now, I've fallen in love with it, and that's what I do, and that's why I do it. I wouldn't put so much time if I didn't love it, you know? But just understand what you're getting yourself into. If you want to build a following, there's a lot more to this shit, and you have to be, for you to make money doing it, for you to form a following, it requires so much more than just every once in a while throwing a video up on YouTube. There's a lot to it. Feel free to email me, DustinElectricianU, if you want to learn a little bit more, if you need some help. I'm happy to help anybody try to get a start on how to make a YouTube channel and do all of that stuff. I've actually thought about making some content about being a YouTube creator and like how to how to do a lot of the stuff and what matters and what doesn't, how to get sponsors and all that stuff. I've just got like a lot of knowledge about it. But what I will say is that people are far more interested in you documenting what you're doing than you having to always have a perfect polished topic ready. Now, that's not the case if everything you do is like perfect polished content. People are going to expect you to do that. But I watch tons of people, I follow people that are just like out there with their iPhone being funny, being stupid. Like the quality of the content doesn't matter if I'm just trying to be entertained, which I fucking don't even do anymore. I don't like sit and like watch YouTube videos unless I'm actually trying to accomplish something. But like to me, if you're an apprentice and you're documenting your journey and you're like starting out and you're documenting what you're doing as you're doing it and the growth that you're having, the problems that you see, I think that's interesting as shit. And I think other apprentices would probably watch it. You're probably going to get shit all over by electricians because electricians are assholes. So just be ready. But as long as you're honest about it and you don't give a shit what people say in the comments and you're not fazed by it, then fuck, just keep doing you. That's what I do. Like, I mean, I get tons of hateful shit. I just don't care. At this point, I don't even see any of it because I have people that are combing through my content to try to find comments that they think are good for me to answer. So I don't even I can't, dude. I can't keep up with the amount of comments. But that wasn't always the case. There was a point where, I had like 10,000 subscribers, and that was really hard to keep up with all of the comments. And then you had Instagram, and then you got Facebook, and you got all the groups, and you Discord, and Reddit, and all of the different places. So when you're starting out, every comment means something to you. So you need to just have thick skin if you're going to do this, and you're going to put your shit out there. You're going to put your work out there, and yourself, and your thoughts, and who you are. You're really going to put it out there. It's out there. So just be ready. It's the last thing I'm going to say about it. But I do recommend you do it if it's something you're passionate about. Aseem Gaming. Bro, I haven't seen this name in a long time. Aseem. Dude, I think you might have been one of my first ever commenters. And I don't even think it was on YouTube. I think that Twitter is the first place that you started commenting on my videos. And you were probably like one of the first people that ever commented. And I still, every once in a while, I don't go on Twitter very much because just nobody gives a shit about Twitter these days, not in the electrician circles. So my content is kind of meaningless there. But every once in a while, like I'll see something that you're doing or I'll see a comment or something like that. So how you doing, bro? It's good to fucking see you after all these years. You're still around. And he writes, what I noticed, Dustin, is that those tools looked new. Do you even know how to tool? LOL. That was on this recent video swapping fluorescent garage LEDs. Bro, I'm sponsored now. So like I just get free shit. I think, honestly, that's not to brag. I really think I have given so many fucking tools to people. Thousands, dude. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Every apprentice that I've worked under, I've bought drills for. I've bought like entire new tool sets. When I had Livewire, I spent hundreds of dollars just getting people tooled up. If they were an apprentice or like a friend of mine that was working, it's like, bro, I'll just get all of the fucking tools for you. I have given so many tools. And I have had shit stolen out of my truck time and time again. I've had toolboxes cracked open and robbed, everything taken out of them. I've left shit in the back of the truck and had it stolen. Fuck, dude, I have probably spent $50,000 on fucking tools that I don't have, that I have given to other people. So, all I have to say is that, homie, I've earned a couple of free fucking tools. It's so funny because I still have friends that are electricians who are like, hey bro, can you like ask Milwaukee to get me a free thing? It's like, fuck you, man. Go buy your own. Like, for the first tool of your life, I've given you everything else. Go fucking buy yourself a goddamn drill. Sorry. But yeah, all my tools are new. I know. I do have a spare set though that I am getting ready to send to a company who's helping me make my tool belt because they all need to fit in there. So I'm sending them the spare, like kind of shitty set. But I do keep a spare set just in case I have an apprentice or somebody that I'm working with that doesn't have something and I need to let them use something. I'm not giving them all my brand new shit. They can use some used, linemen's that I've got like a notch because I blew them up from cutting a fucking live piece of Romex or something like that. They can have that all day. What is the difference between line voltage and phase voltage? So when you were talking about transformers, as you start to journey a little bit in your understanding of what primary and secondary means and what delta and Y, all of these different things, you're going to come across the difference between a Y secondary and a delta secondary, and a lot of it is the relationship to which one of them has more voltage, which one of them has more current. And you're going to come across the term line conductors and phase conductors. So if a delta may have more voltage in its line conductors than its phase conductors, what does that actually mean? So when we say line conductors, we're talking about two phase conductors, the voltage between two phase conductors specifically. When we say phase conductors, we're talking about the voltage between a single phase conductor and a neutral. So just remember, line conductors is like two hots. It's the relationship between them. Those are lined conductors. Phase conductors are one hot and neutral. So an instance where you might come across this language, there is a website I'm looking at called byjus.com. For any polyphase system, line voltage is defined as the voltage between two given phases, whereas the phase voltage is the voltage between the given phase and neutral. Another website also phrases it: the line voltage of a Y-connected system is 1.73 times larger than the phase voltage. For example, the phase voltage of a 230 volt Y system is 133 volts, while that of a 480 volt Y system is 277 volts. So that's how they derive 277 volts. They're saying that phase to neutral is 277, and because of the 120 degree difference in angle in the windings, that the double voltage, or the line voltage of that, would be actually 1.73 times the phase voltage. So if you have a 277 hot to neutral, you're going to get a 480 between hot and hot, because it's three phase. That whole square root of 1.732 thing that we keep running into with three phase systems. All right, so that's really all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching all the videos. My 480 volt members, you guys rock. You're the current that keeps this motor running. Anyways, make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell, join if you're not a member. Love you, crazy people. See you in the next one.
Best music and video.